The Cyclone is a two-man vehicle, a pilot or a driver and a navigator. You can also swap out the module for a turret in the back, which is also manned, so you can have up to 3 people.
It's transportation with like a focus on speed and maneuverability, like a fusion of a Humvee and a Jeep. It's got kind of the utility of a Jeep, so it's very all-terrain, but it's like rugged like a Humvee. You know, it's strong and sturdy. There's a lot of exposed parts, and it's very off-road, you know. There's actually a specific variant designed for racing, so it will have the ability to boost. It's got a really tight turning radius.
It was sort of our first in a lineup from Tumbril. It was a new company. It was a good opportunity to sort of work on new aesthetics, new designs, really sort of work on what makes this interesting. So this was basically a mixture between a, sort of military Humvee and, like a Paris-Dakar off-road 4x4. Comes with multiple modules, so players can sort of choose the kind of experience they want. So it can just be sort of, ragging it off-road, as fast as they can, or they can swap out to a missile pod or an EMP pod or a cargo pod. So basically it's pretty darn flexible.
The difference between the Cyclone and the other land vehicles is that it's less of a utility vehicle. The Rover is more of it's got more combat capabilities and a little bit more storage, but it's kind of more like a box that just travels. The Cyclone is more of just a vehicle. It's more like just a truck that you can either store stuff on, or you can swap out the module in the back and do different utilities depending on what you switched out.
This is basically another surface vehicle to add to the fleet or to your garage. You'll have your like habitation pods, on your planet. You'll be able to park your Tumbril Cyclone next to it, but really the point of it is that you can go exploring, play it your way, isn't it? Basically it's what do you want to do today, where do you want to go, you just point your nose and off you go. This way players will be able to choose what which version of the buggy they want. Hopefully they pick the right one. They don't find too much trouble.
I think the biggest challenge in designing it was the modularity aspect of it, because having to be able to swap out those pieces and how that was actually going to work and function. So you have the turret or the anti-air or the recon or the racing versions, like what the functionality for each of those was going to be and how that made the vehicle unique when you swap them out, and what kind of gameplay that actually facilitated was kind of one of the biggest challenges. We wanted to kind of make sure that each module, when you swapped it out, filled a different role. So if you put the turret in, you'd have more of a ground combat vehicle. If you put the anti-air one in, you'd have more of a support vehicle that could take down ships in the air, but also support ground troops by making sure that they weren't taken out by air vehicles. The recon version, we wanted to have a scanner that would allow you to map terrain and store all of that data, also allowing you to place beacons and kind of make landing zones or mark targets or something like that. The racing version, we just wanted to give it a boost, kind of like an afterburner or a nitrous boost, kind of give it the fastest speeds and better tuning. It is one of the fastest vehicles, wheeled vehicles that we have. The Nox is faster than it, but it's got that gravlev technology. But yeah, it's pretty fun, and it's also quite maneuverable. The four-wheel turning and the four-wheel drive gives it speed and turning radius.
Right now, I just finished with the gray box art, and I'm moving into final art. So I'm applying a lot of palms and decals and stuff like that and doing material work, but the final mesh is basically done. From me, it goes to design and animation. Design will be controlling, actually it's pretty much set up for design, at least the white boxes, but they'll be fine tuning it and getting it to drive the way that they want it to and feel the right have the right feel. Animation will be like getting the shocks to work and the characters to get in and out of it and looking nice, you know, and then of course sound will take a pass at it, and then tech art and effects will make it blow up and look pretty exploding.
They should have a lot of fun. You know, this vehicle's, you know, it's got quite a few sort of interesting features. It's got some unique styling. You know, we tried to sort of push on sort of new materials. It's an external frame, and then everything is sort of bolted it onto the interior of it or bolted onto the side. So it's kind of got an exoskeleton, and then we sort of push for 3D printed sort of materials in there. I think it'll be interesting to see what players do with it.
It's pretty fun to drive around right now, and we're going into gray box, so we're actually going to create the geometry for it based on what we had for the white box, and it's looking pretty good. I think some of the issues that we're running into with it is the modularity, so like actually having to swap out stuff, being able to control that thing through item 2.0, like having missiles fire with the pilot controlling the missiles and then actually aiming the missiles. Then like swapping out all the other modules and how that's going to work. We also wanted this open suspension on the vehicle, and I think the suspension that we had on the Rover and the Grey Cat wasn't as articulated or detailed as what we want on the Cyclone. We have to go back and kind of change how we're doing our suspension parts and maybe add a few more options to that to get it looking as cool as we can.
I can't wait for the mounted gun attachment on the back. I feel like that will make it like your typical FPS like Jeep vehicle. And that's gonna be really fun, having somebody in the back on the turret, you know, having somebody riding shotgun and just like tearing up planets. I think that's what's gonna make the Tumbril special. You know, the Cyclone, Tumbril Cyclone.